The New World Order Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So Donald Trump actually announced yesterday that Wednesday that they would, while there's still being a ceasefire between Turkey or Turkish militia forces and the Syrian Kurds in northern Syria, he would uplift sanctions on Turkey that were initially placed due to the carnage that they imposed on northern Syria on the Kurds. Now, the interesting thing about that, though, is they only imposed that carnage once President Trump, after having a conversation with Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, actually had the U.S. troops withdraw their support from the Kurds, who actually was said to have helped to fight ISIS. And he's still removing U.S. troops from that area, but he also announced that some would stay to guard oil fields. Nevertheless, though, earlier this month, when the Turkish militia initiated that offensive, it said that 11,000 Kurds have actually died. It's also said that, according to the United Nations, 176,000 people have been displaced from that shit, including 80,000 children. Now, it's causing a lot of rift. That's why there was like a self-emulation incident outside of the United Nations Office for Refugee Resettlement out there in Geneva, Switzerland. So, you know, shit is real and people are going through drastic measures to get some changes out of here. We'll see if the ceasefire really takes place, because there was still shelling going on during the ceasefire. You know what I'm saying? Green War and Graduation. The New World Order Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So, yesterday, actually, the Republican lawmakers stormed this closed congressional hearing, disrupting the whole impeachment investigation, where they prevented a Pentagon official from testifying for 5 hours. And they violated House rules, which includes the ban of cell phones and other electronic devices in what's known as the SCIF, the Sensitive Compartmented Information Facility. So they just on some lawless shit right now. Meanwhile, you got Trump going on these angry Twitter tirades, because we know he felt the way about Bill Taylor, the former U.S. ambassador to Ukraine, testifying against him, basically confirming what is essentially going into the whole impeachment investigation or whatever. But also, you also have the Associated Press basically saying that back in May, Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, actually spent hours like going back and forth with his advisors, basically discussing the pressure that Trump and his people were putting on them to open this investigation against Joe Biden. New York Times even reports that back in military officials were told in August about the delay of military aid, which kind of goes against Trump's claim that there was no quid pro quo. You know what I'm saying? Like, obviously there was a plan involved, and they were notified about it. So, I mean, more scandal. Is it gonna matter though? We'll see. Green War and Graduation. The New World Order Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So in Chile, now I've been telling y'all about the anti-government protests that have been going on over there, especially as is persistent throughout the capital, due to initially starting from a subway fee hike instituted by Sebastian Piñera, the president there. But he revoked that, but there was still, like, it caused a chain reaction of massive protests due to the fact that there's like high cost of living, privatization, and wages. You know what I'm saying? People aren't able to live there. But nevertheless, there have been 18 people that have actually been killed in these protests. But yesterday, there was an unidentified driver that actually ran into a 4-year-old and an adult in San Pedro de la Paz. Now, the Chile's National Institute of Human Rights actually reports that at least 5 protesters have actually been killed by the police or soldiers. So shit is going crazy over there, and people are calling for there to be rest. Piñera tried to institute, say that he was going to do something about it and offer a chance for resolution, but the people aren't buying it. So we will see more and more protests possible. Green War and Graduation. The New World Order Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So over in Spain, actually the body of Francisco Franco, a fascist dictator that actually had a 40-year brutal ruling up until 1975. actually had his body exhumed from a state-run mausoleum. Now this was definitely something that many people viewed as needing to happen due to the fact that Spain is actually run as a democratic nation, and to have somebody's body essentially praised or revered just seemed to be contradictory. So especially he's from the era of like Hitler and Mussolini and all of that, so it really didn't make sense for him to be out there. So a lot of people are praising the move, and you know, life goes on. He's going to be moved to like a family vault. So it's not that his body shouldn't be buried, even though he's responsible for a lot of murders and a lot of torture, but you know, at least just get him out of the state-run mausoleum. Like, come on, man, Green War and graduation. The New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News Report. So on Monday, Julian Assange, the co-founder of WikiLeaks, you can say the founder, he's definitely the face of that shit, he actually had to appear in court, and the court in London, they actually denied his request for a delay in the U.S. extradition hearing for it to be rescheduled in February. So that should be coming up soon. Unfortunately, now it's crazy. The lawyers are warning of this being a blow to press freedom, because it doesn't seem like he's getting a fair shake. I mean, he was detained by British authorities after being in the Ecuadorian embassy and then snatched out of there once the Ecuadorian president lifted his status of being able to be out there in London. And now it seems that even in him showing up in court, he appeared dazed, confused, wasn't even struggled to say his own name and birthday, and then he even said that he can't think properly. So people are saying that, experts are saying that he's clearly appears to have suffered psychological torture. When I hear that, I always think of when Lawrence Fishburne was in The Matrix and they first captured him in the first Matrix movie. You know what I'm saying? The shit he was going under. My motherfucker, that's torture. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want to call it psychological or whatever. Like, they might not be beating his ass, but they torturing that motherfucker straight up. So, you know what I mean? Hopefully, yo, keep people like that in your thoughts and prayers, because these are people frontliners for our freedom and our ability to know the foul shit that government is up to. Green War and graduation. The New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News Report. So over in East London, Britain, there was actually a tractor trailer that was found to have 39 dead bodies in it. Crazy shit. So the place had a refrigerator unit, and it's not really clear whether the bodies froze to death or whether they suffocated. But police so far have early investigations show that it was possibly one teenager and the rest were adults. These people are coming from, police feel like it was probably related to human trafficking. The license plate of the truck, of this tractor trailer, had a Bulgarian, it had a Bulgarian license plate, and that crossed into the United Kingdom on October 19th. So it's also said that the lorry driver was a 25-year-old Northern Ireland man who's been arrested on suspicion and all of that, whatever. But all of these people are believed to be Chinese nationals. So, you know, some wicked shit going on out there. This is one of the largest murder investigations in decades out there. Green War and graduation. Insane. Streets reporter of the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News Report. So, a woman who goes by the name of Jane Doe filed a federal suit against the Department of Homeland Security in Connecticut because she basically alleges, and it's probably true, that she was forced into sexual slavery by one of the immigration agents there. So it all started in 2006 when she was first recruited by ICE agent Wilfredo Rodriguez after her brother was found to have entered the U.S. without proper documentation and was threatening, and this agent was threatening to deport him. Now, she it started with like her, you know, basically doing becoming an informant, but then it led to him like forcing her to have sex with him and do sexual favors, like at the threat of deportation. At one point, he even put a gun to her. You know what I'm saying? She says that she was raped as much as 4 times a week for the 7 years that she was actually in that motherfucker. And it even led to her being pregnant 3 times. So she's filing suit, man. That's something, people like that, need to go to hell. No, ICE is reporting, they haven't given a comment, but they are reporting that that man no longer works there. But shit, if he did that, he can't be the only one, you dig? Green Wall and Graduation. The New World Order, Bishop Grady let y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News Report. Now, over in New Orleans, Louisiana, earlier this month, actually on October 12th, there was an 18-story Hard Rock hotel being built. And it was halfway built, and it actually collapsed on the workers in there, killing 3 and injuring dozens, right? So that took place, and the families of the murdered, of the killed, are actually suing the companies behind the disaster. So I imagine Hard Rock, shit, probably even New Orleans. Now, there was a Delma Ramirez Palma that was actually one of the workers who narrowly survived this disaster, even after falling 3 stories, right? So he actually reports on what happened to like a Spanish television program, like right after it happened, whatever. Just 2 days later, he actually gets detained by ICE agents and is currently in prison in an ICE detention center in Oakdale, Louisiana. Badly injured. He needs heavy medical attention, but they're trying to deport him to Honduras. So, you know, hopefully there's some justice that actually comes from this scenario for the families of those who were killed, as well as for Ramirez Palma. Now, give him some help. Green Wall and Graduation. We'll go to Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News Report. So, California, in California, Pacific Gas and Electric, they're actually planning another round of blackouts for hundreds of thousands of people over the next couple of days, due to there being, you know, just windy and dry conditions. And climate scientists say that in Cali, the windy and dry conditions are what are leading to a lot of like forest fires or whatever. PG&E specifically are trying to prevent another campfire, which, you know, last year's had wildfires that actually killed 85 people, and it was found that it was due to their transmission line. So that's the reason why they're doing the blackouts, right? Same time, you have Southern California Edison and San Diego Gas and Electric that are planning on shutting down the power for 300,000 people, due to there being these fires that caught in western LA, in the area known as Pacific Palisades, where multi-million-dollar hillside homes were actually burnt. So, you know, preventative measures, I guess, but put people in the dark. We'll see how this turns out, though. Green Wall and Graduation.